Hello and welcome back to my channel. I woke this morning with a fresh wave of inspiration with the sun shining outdoors, and I thought that it was a great opportunity to abandon all of my responsibilities, jump in the car and come up to one of my favourite woodland locations in Eryri, Snowdonia National Park. This is an area that I first discovered in 2021 when I created maybe 5 or 6 of my favourite photographs from the lake that is just around another half a mile up the lane. It's a location that I think I'm going to go and visit later on this afternoon, so it may well be included in this video, depending on how we get on in here and how much fun I'm having. So today I brought you to my favourite location, and I'm actually standing in one of my compositions, which I'm going to get into in just a little bit. But I wanted to kind of show you the evolution of how this piqued my interest, piqued my curiosity when I first walked down the bank just behind you now, and looked up and felt something. I saw, you know, that there was something possible here. Initially, actually, it was the mossy green branches that you might be able to see just over my head. I won't be able to point exactly to where it is, but it's probably somewhere around here in the distance. And it was the way that they arc over and touch the branches on this taller silver birch tree here. So we have this relationship of branches that are just meeting together there. And my mind saw actually like a kind of portal between these branches here, and I love frames and pathways and portals in my photography, so that really drew my eyes down into the depths of the woodland down beneath me. Initially I had this silver birch tree in over this side of the frame, and also the branch that is, or the part of the trunk that is kind of leaning over the other way. So I had those in initially. And then I decided actually that it was really the branch that was drawing me, the green mossy covered branch kind of popping out against that neutral, more kind of beige, I guess, beigey, purpley, you know, lighter background. So actually what I did was kind of just stopped everything and looked and identified in the scene what it was that I actually was drawn to. So of course this gnarled, moss-laden, beautiful, shapely, ancient looking branch, or part of the trunk, actually that's the trunk, is obviously my main focus. But then what we have here are these beautiful trunks here, these slender trunks just arcing up into the distance, and they create a real kind of juxtaposition almost with the shapely, twisted, gnarly old guy on the right, and then these taller, slender branches. So they create a really nice contrast here. What you might also be noticing now is how the sun has just softened and now flattened the scene. So of course I've opened the shutter when that sunlight was beaming onto the scene, which really, and here we can see it coming back out again, so you can see the difference in live now, the difference that sun is making. And of course we have that beautiful raking low winter sun crossing the scene now, so we have some side light which creates beautiful, you can see shadows and light on the opposite side, and of course up here have some side light coupled with some shadows on the inside of the trunk there. So this is a kind of style of light that I love to use in my photography. It creates depth and mystery really, and almost adds more three-dimensionality to a composition. You can see now again in live as I'm talking the difference that sunlight is making to this scene, and wow, it really does add a lot, doesn't it? So yeah, this is the first photograph that I've created in a long time that actually has any kind of quality, I think, to it, and really enables a bit of a kind of thought process behind it. This is exactly why I love woodland photography, because it really engages the senses. You have to feel out these compositions, and really then, you know, you feel it to start with. Your senses are engaged. You know that there's something in this area, and then you have to engage the mind and really start to think about what it is that you want to capture from a scene. So yeah, I'll leave you with that one. Okay, I think that was a productive demonstration, the first of its kind on my channel actually. So let me know what you think of this video so far. Drop down in the comments and leave me a few words to tell me whether you found this helpful. I hope that I showed and demonstrated really that final compositions sometimes aren't in what you immediately see, and this is something that I love to talk about on my workshops. This is a location actually that I include in my Eryri Snowdonia, Spirit of Snowdonia workshops. I have one coming up I think it's in the spring, so head over to my website and have a look at that if you're interested. But that point is something that I really love to talk about on my workshops, that a composition isn't always what we immediately see. So walking down this bank, my senses, my heart, my eyes, my, you know, everything, my spirit, I guess, was drawn to something in the woodland. What I initially thought it was turned out to be something, well, evolved into something different. So, you know, we can always apply kind of evolutionary thinking to our photography, and kind of get a little bit more experimental and curious about what it is that actually drew us in the first place. Okay, so I brought you along now to see one of my old compositions from autumn of 2021. As you can see, I mean, it doesn't need too much explaining. It's a pretty magical, mystical scene. But I want to explain a little bit more about what I'd seen. When I came here, of course, the stream needed no introduction. That is what kind of caught my eye. Who doesn't love a stream running through a woodland? I mean, listen. Beautiful, right? So that was, of course, the first thing that piqued my curiosity when I came back here in 21, and I came over here to explore. And then what caught my eye when I'd stepped over the stream, I'll just flick you on to the other camera now. So it was actually, I'm zoomed in now just so you can see, but it was, of course, let me just focus, was of course this trio of silver birch trees. 1, 2, in fact that's an oak, but the 1 and 2 silver birch, and then this oak here to make up the trio. So if I just zoom back out now, and you'll begin to see the composition take shape. So they were kind of anchoring this scene, the middle of this scene. So let me just flick that into autofocus now, just bring focus back onto those middle trees. So this is kind of something close to my composition from back in 2021. So as you can see, I've anchored the bottom of this frame with this big old rock here, which I think works. Sometimes it can be difficult to balance heavy objects, but I think it works because I think of the weight of these 3 trees kind of, you know, counteracts it. So yeah, it worked. And if I remember rightly, I mean, I'm going to overlay the photo on the screen afterwards so you can see what my composition was back then. It may have altered slightly. I mean, it's been 3 years, but it was something similar to this. So of course the stream acts as a beautiful swirling leading line, taking you right down into the distance there. We have 1, 2 and 3 kind of acting as that center point, that pillar to draw the eyes here, and hold some weight in the middle of the frame there. I also love the old oak that you can see just at the bottom there, and that stream really helps to take the eyes down to that oak as well. Maybe you have a little bit of a spiral coming back in here, a little bit of a relationship between the branches there, but actually it was the interactions here and the beautiful kind of shapes of this one arcing that way, this one arcing back into the middle, and this one just acting as that pillar down the center of the frame. So this is one that I'm going to be returning back to time and time again, because as far as compositions go, I mean, this is up there with one of the best that I've found, I think, from this area. I've yet to find it in peak conditions. I had a beautiful frost in the photograph that you'll see on screen in a moment, where the background kind of foliage had all frozen. It was this beautiful crystal blue, and then there was a warmth coming in from up the top here, where I know the sun rises year round over here, so I'm going to get that beautiful backlight that I love so much in my photography, but I'm yet to see this really in peak, so I hope now I'm a little bit closer to the national park that I'll be able to come back and photograph this over the seasons, because it really is spectacular, I think. So that's another thing that I love to talk about whilst out guiding on workshops and in my one-to-ones. It's to look out for those relationships between the trees. It's to look out for one tree that's swooping one way, one tree that's swooping the other way, and coming together in the middle. It creates a beautiful flow and an interconnectedness, a story of interconnectedness in my photographs, and maybe that's something that you'd like to tell in yours. I think it's particularly powerful in the woodland environment to look out for things like that. Okay, I'm going to take you up the Little mossy bank here, watching where I tread, to a composition that I scouted out last year. Wow. Whew. That's beautiful. Oh my. It's so good to be out. So I'm now stood in the second to last of the compositions that I wanted to take you through today. This is one that I haven't actually photographed yet. I spotted it, I think, last year, towards the end of last year on a one-to-one day. Actually, we were walking down and my curiosity was piqued. Something in me spoke, and yeah, I spotted this beautiful, beautiful scene. So what I had in mind was like a panoramic shot. I'm actually on a single frame at the moment, so you can't quite see the full expanse of the scene. There's a couple more silver birch trees just at a shot over onto the, well, my right hand side, now your left hand side. But yeah, I wanted to get in the rock face that's kind of crumbled away down over there with it's a little maybe older tree that's just kind of peeking out of the rock there. And then I was going to sweep all the way around. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's about 12, 13, 14 characters here in this frame. And yeah, one of the things that I had in mind really was the kind of symmetry of the composition. And what I mean by that is when I'm framing something like this up, and what caught my eye was the kind of spacings between each of the trees. It kind of created this beautiful, orderly kind of visual scene to my eyes. I mean, it helps kind of where you place your tripod a lot of the time, and I've been quite intentional about where I've put my tripod for this frame. One of the reasons being is because there's a little, I don't know what actual tree that is. It's like a little Christmas tree. What species of Christmas trees? Can somebody leave that in the comment for me, please? But yeah, that was quite an intentional placement there, because if you can see in frame, now the silver birch trees are kind of framing that. So what I've got in mind is a winter scene. I've actually pretty much missed my opportunity now. I'm not sure that we're going to get any heavy frosts coming, but I imagine over the past few weeks this would have looked pretty special. Anyway, I didn't make it up, but you know, you can't help that sometimes. I'll make a point of coming next time, but I want a frosted kind of understory where all of these mosses on the ground here, these beautiful mosses here, will have a beautiful blue, light blue tone. Maybe a hint of snowfall would be incredible. What I'm hoping for is some mists filling the kind of, it's like a mini valley going on behind the trees here. And from experience, because I know this area like the back of my hand now, I've been here that many times, I know sunrise is in that direction year round. Probably winter time, it's going to rake in exactly where I want it. So like I said, I may have missed my opportunity for that certain photograph that I'd love from this location, but I'll keep on trying. It will rake in beautifully down that little valley there. We may get a hint of light kind of beaming in, kind of like 45 degrees, so you get that beautiful kind of side and kind of backlight effect as well, which creates that beautiful colored transition across the scene, where you get the warm tones filling in where the sun's coming into the cooler tones down into the valley there, where I know that it would be really, really blue at a certain time throughout the year. So that's what I've got in mind. Let me just come back behind the camera now and I'll show you yeah, some more of the things, my thought processes. So okay, now I can point out the Christmas tree in the background. So that's something, oh, let me just focus back on there. So that's something that was quite key in this frame really. And what I've kind of thought here is this mossy rock in this version of the photograph. I'm not sure it would look exactly like this, because I'm going to actually make a panoramic, so I'd flip the camera into vertical and blend together maybe 10 photographs. So I'm not quite sure how that would look, but how I framed it up now is that these kind of create a beautiful kind of contrast in shapes, not contrast, but like a symmetry in shapes. So they balance each other out. I don't think if that wasn't there, then maybe this would be a little bit too heavy and draw the eyes down there a little bit too much. What we also have here is a kind of beautiful kind of spiraling shape down here, and also kind of spiraling up here using these rocks. So tripod height is quite key here really. It's important to experiment with the height of the tripod. I think in photography, especially in the woodland, sometimes lifting the tripod head up in certain environments can really help you to kind of shoot downwards and eliminate a lot more of the sky, which is key in my work anyway. I like to shoot kind of away from the sky. Fog obviously helps to eliminate the sky, but also you can lift the tripod up and shoot downwards. I'm lucky here that I'm on a hillside, and of course the hill is sloping kind of downwards that way. I'm above it, so naturally I have that downward angle which eliminates the sky. And also what you'll notice here behind the trees, so where I've got the trees kind of on a similar plane here, behind those trees into the distance there's a lovely fall off into the background, which would give me that really beautiful depth of field in a photograph, and it would actually work today. So I am going to create a photograph here and put it up on the screen in a moment for you so you can see how it looks in its final form. Another key thing here is this fella here. Got him in frame nicely, so again adds another layer of depth, and I think that's the key in woodland photography, is to try to include some elements kind of on different planes. So if you imagine this is plane number 1 here with the rock, then kind of plane number 2 here, plane number 3 with that tree in the background, maybe there's plane number 4 with the the Christmas tree. So it creates depth. It's important, I think, to think in terms of planes when creating photographs, and to try to make a scene as three-dimensional as possible. What you also have today, you could just see in the background, really far there in the background, you can just see some whites of the silver birch trees on the other hillside, and they're just catching a little bit of sunlight now as well. Well, I mean diffused sunlight, because we've just had a shower pass over, so there's clouds now in front of the sun. But you can just see those, and you know, there's a couple more silver birch trees in the distance there, again just helping to add a little bit of depth in the photograph today. So I'm going to frame up a panoramic, and I'll overlay that onto the screen now. Okay, so here's the 4th and final composition of today, which I'm a little bit sad about, because if you can see just on the deck there's well, it wasn't quite dead, a partially dead rowan tree. I mean, now it's dead, it's well and truly gone. The wind must have taken it. I can see the roots have kind of been lifted out of the ground, and yeah, it's gone, sadly. But that stood beautifully in this little gap here, and it kind of just arced out. And when I came here back in the autumn, the berries were just filling this space beautifully, and it really made for a beautiful center point to the let me just flick this off autofocus. A beautiful center point to this composition. So I'm not sure how this is going to work now when I come back. It needs a canopy, because if you can see, there's an ugly tarmac track or gravel track just in the distance there, so it needs a canopy. It needs some colors to hide that, and I mean, when I came in the autumn it was perfect. It actually worked really well in the rainfall. I didn't take a photograph that day because I was tutoring, and I don't tend to do it too often when I'm tutoring unless somebody asks me. But anyway, I didn't take it, but it looked absolutely perfect, because this whole canopy was just glittering with golds and ambers and yellows, and then there were colours on the floor, and it was just perfect. And I know that this is going to look great also in the spring when I come back. And what I love about this composition here is the shapes here, the shape of this tree, the shape of this one here, and how they're kind of linked through the woodland, because there's also a, you might not see it too well here, but there's another, I think, silver birch in the distance there, and its branches are just kind of linking here. So it creates a really beautiful kind of flow in this kind of shape. And with a heavy rainfall in the background hiding that, or some fog, then it's really going to bring all of this to attention, to prominence in the photograph. So yeah, I'm hoping to be able to bring this one to you in a few months' time. One more thing, by the way, before I do end here. So what I'm thinking in this instance is probably some kind of square panoramic. So one frame there, low down, and then another frame higher up, maybe two, and then a third one to really get that canopy. And of course it's going to need something to hide that sky. So either a very overcast rainy day or a nice foggy morning. Yeah, so that's what I've got in mind for this one. Okay, now that's probably enough for today's video. I would love to hear your thoughts about whether you found this informative and eye-opening to see how I see when I'm outdoors in the woodland. Please let me know in the comments if you've taken anything from today and if it's helped you in any way. And don't forget to drop me a like to help me to grow my channel and to spread my message and my vision with the world. Do keep an eye out for more of these. I'm starting a new series all about learning to see again through nature photography, which is going to include more of these practical and technical demonstrative videos. Thank you.